Hello and welcome to Petronella Computer Consultants' presentation of how to reduce your cost, boost productivity, and improve your security, all as a result of Petronella cloud offerings. Let's get going. If you're like most business owners, you're probably looking for more ways to improve your profit, your productivity, and therefore your cash flow. We're going to show you how implementing some or all of our cloud offerings will help you in all of those regards. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you 5 ways that the cloud can positively impact your bottom line. We are Petronella Computer Consultants, headquartered right here in Raleigh, North Carolina. We offer several different versions of the cloud, a virtual desktop where your employees' line of business applications, the ones they use every day, are rapidly and easily available to them on their desktop. But the secret sauce is they're actually operating in the cloud. I'll tell you more about that later on. This allows you to literally create a virtual office where all of your employees can access any and all of the data that they need to work with day in and day out from anywhere where they can access the internet. As you'll see, this reduces your cost, improves profit, and will increase productivity by as much as 33%. Now, back in the day when these gentlemen were selling telephones, we didn't need to have the transaction speed that is absolutely mandatory today. It was okay if you embraced an attitude of getting around to processing an order tomorrow or even the day after. As a matter of fact, these gentlemen enjoyed a luxury which very few American businesses have seen since they were the premier telephone sales force in Los Angeles, California. That luxury was they had no competition. If you operate in a world where you have no competition, the cloud really won't do much for you. But if you have competition, the cloud's going to give you a sustainable competitive advantage and allow you to put more money on your bottom line. But before we go deep into our presentation, let's take a look at how we got here. And I want you to understand what's in it for you in terms of moving some or all of your business to the cloud. You see, we believe that all roads lead to the cloud. The question is, who's going to take you there? And I have to give you a little bit of a surprise before we actually dive into all of the meaty content. The surprise is there is an elephant in your conference room. Is the fact that you're already using some or all of your business's applications in the cloud. If you're using any of these logos, you're operating in the cloud. And we could go on. Literally, there are hundreds of thousands of applications that are totally cloud-based. They have no disk to install on the laptop or on the desktop. This improves productivity and streamlines operations. But many companies didn't know they were in the cloud because it's just the norm. You log in, you go use your application, and you log out. It's just that simple. Now, we have found that the cloud is truly a game changer for companies that have multiple locations. If you're a company that's growing and you have multiple locations or satellite employees or mobile employees, technicians, customer support representatives, sales representatives, the cloud is truly going to be a game changer for you and your P&L. If your current computer equipment, desktops and servers are nearing the end of life and you're looking at a big turn cycle to replace and upgrade and refresh all of that equipment, you can sigh a big breath of relief because moving to the cloud eliminates, and let me repeat that, moving to the cloud will eliminate the need for you to make a significant investment in equipment at the end of life. Companies can grow at remarkably low cost due to a phenomenon that's only available through the cloud, which is pay-as-you-go software. You see, the cloud turns your software into a utility, just like your electric bill. If you're not using electricity, you don't pay for electricity. If you're not using Microsoft Word, you don't pay for it. So it's almost an ability for you to scale without investing thousands of dollars for hardware and software per employee. If you've experienced any significant downtime, machines crashing, the network going down, then the cloud will protect you from that concern that not only impacts your productivity, but adds stress to everyone in your company. And last but certainly not least, if you're concerned about any natural or man-made disasters, floods, fires, explosions, etc., then you should absolutely explore the cloud. We're going to talk about how we got here. I'm going to help you understand how the cloud works. I'm going to make sure you understand what the cloud means for your IT, people and department and technology, and most importantly, what it means for you. The water wheel that you're looking at on the left was invented by the gentleman who just popped into your screen. This gentleman owned a factory back in the 1800s that was able to take advantage of a game-changing energy production technology. You see, that water wheel is the largest water wheel ever created. Because of the amount of energy that this water wheel created, the gentleman was able to have a factory running more machines per square foot than any of his competitors. As a result, he was able to be profitable while maintaining a very high-quality product. He supplied the Union with most of the railroad spikes during the Civil War and many other utensils used by the Army. He became wealthy because of the game changer in how he produced energy. No other water wheel was that large, no other water wheel was able to drive as many machines using those belt drives that you see over on the right, and his cost per increment of energy was so low that it drove his profits sky high. Now, computers are following the same path of approaching the game change. Now, this gentleman that you're looking at invented the computer. Actually, at the point in time that he invented the machine that he's working, his job was called the computer. That was his job title. His machine was used to tabulate the census in the United States at the end of the 1800s. And the tabulation was done on the punch cards like the one that you see on your screen. By changing the game, we were able to process the election reports and the census in those days much more rapidly than ever before. The game changer also allowed unbelievable improvements in accuracy. And as productivity went up, the number of people required to get the job done went down. This gentleman went on to invent more computing machines, but not the one that just appeared on your screen. That's an IBM mainframe circa 1955-1960. As you can see, it was a very big machine, and they were always housed in dedicated buildings and or departments of a main building. Now, they were staffed and manned and run by specialists. Now, when that machine was doing the computing for a company, one did not have to worry about things like hacking, security patches, and the cyber barbarians that are perpetually knocking on the back door of virtually every server in the world. As a matter of fact, access to this machine was only allowed if you were granted permission and physically went into that room. As computers got smaller, the risk associated with distributed computing went up, to the point that we no longer had these machines, and they were replaced with smaller desktops back in the 1980s. As we move forward into the 21st century, many companies' computer rooms look like the rat's nest of wires that you're looking at today. That's because the machines required the need to all be interlinked. As you move to the cloud, you're going to be able to regain this office space. And I don't know what the cost per square foot is in the office that you are occupying, but I do know that there are better uses for that square footage than storing wires and machines. The cloud eliminates that. Now, simply stated, the cloud is where all of your files, databases, training material, documents, videos, everything that your company uses can and should be stored. Obviously, as you can see by the icons of the locks on this graphic, the information is always secured and always encrypted. But if you'll note, around the perimeter, the information can be accessed from a desktop, a laptop, a smartphone, or a tablet. Never again will any of your employees and or you have the frustration of traveling across the country to make a presentation and realizing that you left your PowerPoint slides back on your desktop machine. That won't happen anymore because they're always accessible in the cloud through any device that gives you access to the cloud. Now, computers have been evolving very much like men, except much more rapidly. If you trace our evolution as a species from the chimpanzee over on the right to the modern man, I think you can draw a comparison to where the cloud and cloud computing is. In other words, the cloud is somewhere between an amoeba and a chimpanzee. What this really means is that we haven't seen the real beginning of the power that the cloud's going to bring to businesses. Those business stakeholders and owners that take advantage of the cloud first are the ones who will benefit the most in terms of profit, productivity, cash flow, and peace of mind. If you, like many business owners, are frustrated by the fact that you buy computer equipment which immediately becomes obsolete, that can't be scaled, you'll be delighted to know that when you move to the cloud, computing equipment will no longer be viewed as a capital expense, but rather it will become an operating expense. You can also get off the Microsoft merry-go-round, which many of us may be experiencing right now, as we all know that Microsoft has announced the end of life of the XP product. That means that in a very short period of time, that product will be vulnerable to all the cyber barbarians that can't wait to get their hands on your or other companies' confidential information and personally identifiable information, not to mention credit information, which will be resold to criminals. You'll never have to worry about your data being locked in the office and inaccessible to you and or other important members of your team. And I'd also like you to keep in mind that your business's continuity and your data security is only as secure as your building. If your building blows up, then you've got a problem. If there's a flood or a hurricane, you have a problem. In a phrase, the cloud allows you to grow without boundaries, and it gives you a future without fear. We're going to help you get off that hamster wheel of buying, watching your equipment become obsolete, and buying again. Because software is utilized as a utility, you only pay as you go. This has dramatic improvements on cash flow, especially for companies that are growing rapidly. Operating expense is much more comfortable and compatible with most P&L statements than capital expense. I think you'll agree that that will help you. You'll be able to regain that unused office space that stores the rat's nest of wires that I talked about a moment ago, and you will benefit from a lower electric bill. Security of your data will be absolutely bulletproof, and you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you can grow without boundaries and face the future without fear. Now, many people have asked us, what's in it for me? Why should I even consider this? Well, let me give you the reasons other companies like yours have made the transition to partial or complete cloud computing. You see, they understand that an operating expense is much easier to work with than a capital expense. Pay as you go is better than paying a big lump sum. Productivity of your employees has been documented to increase by as much as 33%. That means that you can have a tremendous improvement in the number of transactions that your company processes without increasing your salaries. Business continuity is totally assured as the cloud is absolutely secure. Scalability with on-demand utility computing is the best way to go. As you grow, your bill will go, but as you shrink, your bill will shrink. It's just like your electric bill. If you're not using it, you don't pay for it. You'll have remote access from any device anywhere at any time. And our clients have told us that that gives them 100% peace of mind. And essentially, once you're in the cloud, work will be something you do, not a place you go. Let me illustrate that last statement by walking you through a day in the life of a cloud-based team. The company is involved with selling products to other businesses, and we're going to talk about how one of their salespeople operates. She wakes up in the morning and checks her email and preps for the first meeting on her home PC. She'll then go straight to a client's office, not her business office. Just eliminating that commute will enable her and her other sales associates to make many more calls per year because we save time. If you increase the number of calls or visits that your sales team makes, I think you can mathematically extrapolate what will happen to the volume of orders, revenue, and profit that is produced by the team's efforts. She'll enter a live order at a client site on her iPad. Now, the benefit of that is that order is instantaneously transmitted back to the home office. The products that she has sold are packed, picked, and shipped. The credit card that she processed has gone into your bank, all virtually instantaneously. This dramatically reduces the cycle time. That in turn allows you to handle many more transactions per day, per week, or per month. She's gone back to the office now and she's working on an office PC. Now note, home PC, iPad, office PC, all gaining access to the same information all the time. Now she's going into the conference room to get ready for a presentation, and she's going to pull that presentation down from the cloud on her MacBook Air. Even on vacation, she can access her information with a tablet or a smartphone. This provides growth without boundaries, a future without fear. Now, if you are a company that has multiple locations, mobile workers, and are concerned about business continuity, you need to talk to one of our consultants and complete our cloud readiness assessment. We'll show you how the cloud will benefit you and what components of the cloud will make you very secure and very productive. If you're worried about legal compliance challenges and security of your data, the cloud is the right question for you to answer with a positive. Let's get to the cloud right now. All roads are leading to the cloud. If you're worried about hurricanes or other natural disasters, get to the cloud before the next flood or the next hurricane. Our cloud readiness assessment will guide you through the process. You see, we understand that moving to the cloud is really a balancing act between productivity and security. Now, I talked a little while ago about the productivity gain that the cloud can produce. And this is one example of how the cloud will help you improve your productivity. The Time Management Institute, the Franklin Time Management Institute, tells us that the average worker is interrupted frequently. And these interruptions come from other workers, telephone calls, you name it. But each disruption causes a 6 to 8 minute lapse in productivity. During that lapse, also called the recovery time, the probability of that employee making an error increases by 30%. Now, if your current IT infrastructure is creating that disruption, we will eliminate that problem totally when you move to the cloud. If there are no disruptions, productivity will be higher, cost will be lower, and profits will skyrocket. Now, while we're on the topic of money, let's take a look at a typical 10-user company. Now, these numbers could be different for you, but I think you'll agree that over the course of 5 years, you're going to have to refresh or buy a new server, perhaps software, network equipment, desktop PCs, backup technology, printers, and if you're self-managing that, there is a cost of the time that it takes to manage your technology. You also have the enormous risk of making sure that every patch that is distributed by every line of business application software product is installed and maintained at all times. If those patches aren't up to date, the cyber barbarians will view them as an open backdoor and will help themselves to information that you probably don't want out the door. Our studies tell us that on average, and again it's a ballpark, the cost of maintaining a 10-user network in a self-managed environment is going to be about $90,000 over 5 years. Now, were you to go to the cloud in total, including thin client machines instead of desktop PCs, not only will you get more security, but you'll have a dramatic reduction in cost. When you meet with our cloud readiness consultant, he or she will show you how you can save money by moving to the cloud. Now, this is a representative number. It may not be accurate for you. Your situation may be better or worse, but it's certainly a number that should prompt you to take a moment or two to examine how you can benefit as others have. Now, the SMB, small to medium business computing conundrum, has been solved by the cloud. Now, the conundrum has plagued business owners like yourself for many years. These are companies that are too small to be able to afford a full-time IT professional. They may have no budget for ongoing training, and if you don't maintain your skills and your knowledge regarding all the nuances of all the software, once again, your company could be wide open for a cyber barbarian attack. Many of these companies literally don't have enough repair or maintenance work for an IT professional to work full-time. Now, many of our clients have told us that they came to us because they had made hiring mistakes in the past when they hired IT professionals. And you see, it makes a lot of sense when you stop and think about it. Very few business executives have the level of IT training and background necessary to accurately and fairly judge the credentials of an IT professional or someone who claims to be an IT professional. All too often, they hired a professional only to realize that they got a hobbyist. And the hobbyists are nice, but you can't rely on that level of technological expertise to run your business. Now, when you move to the cloud, you won't have that problem. I don't want you to get into the mode of a break-fix mentality. We'll wait for something to break, and then we'll fix it. Because when you're talking about your data processing system, it could be as much as $12,000 per day for every day that you're waiting for it to be repaired. Let's make sure that you work better and smarter, and the best way is to outsource your cloud IT services. This is an easy decision. We will implement it very rapidly. You'll see permanent improvement, a reduction in cost, an increase in productivity, and we will remove the stress from business stakeholders like yourself as well as your employees. Most of our clients have loved the fact that we have facilitated very rapid growth for them. And as I said before, the cloud becomes a sustainable competitive advantage for your company. Now, we believe that the old cliche is true, which is you can't build a rugged, dependable, reliable house if the foundation of the house is frail. And I think the same applies to a company, especially in light of the fact that your IT infrastructure is the foundation for your operations, and operations are the foundation for profit. A fragile IT infrastructure means that you have an interrupted operations that could result in more errors and a reduction in revenue. So why not consider protecting your future, protecting your revenue, and moving to the cloud? Too many companies believe that just because their screens are going or glowing, everything is okay. That couldn't be further from the truth. We believe that the cyber barbarians are pounding on your back door from a cyber or technology point of view. Why not put this entire worry about being hacked, about losing data, and all of those problems completely out of your mind? Let us move you to the cloud, and you'll have protection that is unparalleled. And keep in mind that in addition to these outside threats, 14% of cyber attacks come from the inside. And one of the startling bits of data that was released recently is that when companies were being hacked, and when these cyber barbarians were inside of the server taking data, they were there for an average of 416 days before they were discovered. That can't happen when you're in the cloud. Let's take a look at what Forbes has said about the security issue. 40% of all cyber attacks are aimed at small businesses. And that makes sense because most small businesses don't keep up to date with their security patches, don't have adequate or accurate or reliable backup and data recovery, so they're easy targets. More than 72% of successful data breaches happen in smaller companies. About 71% of small business owners admit to lacking confidence in their current cybersecurity measures, and as many as 65% go without cyber insurance. All of these concerns will go away when you go into the cloud. Now, I told you at the beginning of today's webinar that we'll talk about 5 ways that the implementation of a Petronella cloud solution will boost your profits. I said there were 5 ways, and I'm going to read them off to you right now. Hopefully by now you clearly see that we can help you lower your cost. When we conduct our cloud readiness assessment, we will identify exactly how much potential savings you have. Now, my tongue is in my cheek, a little bit of a joke here. There's one thing we can't control, which is raising your prices. But one way to boost profits is to raise your prices. Now, a more reliable computing system will allow you to serve your clients better and more accurately, and that may allow you to raise your prices. Think about that. But will definitely increase productivity, eliminate errors and downtime associated with error correction, will protect your intellectual property and your company data assets, and will shorten your cycle time, dramatically increasing the number of cycles that can be processed per day, per week, or per quarter. That increases your revenue. Now, I've been doing all the talking and work so far in our webinar, and I'd like you to grab a pencil and a piece of paper. Let's take a look at how ready for the cloud you may be. If you are, I'd like you to put down a plus or minus and a numerical value as I read through the business conditions. If you are at the end of life and looking at a major turn cycle of your PCs or servers, give yourself a +4. If your company runs CAD, CAM, or CNC software, give yourself a -2. If you have multiple locations and satellite offices, give yourself a +4. If you have large image files such as CAT scans or MRIs, -2. If you have mobile workers or field force, +2. If you're concerned about HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley, or any other legal compliance issues, +2. If you're concerned about business continuity and disasters, +4. If your business is highly seasonal, +4. If you want to get off the technology upgrade treadmill, +2. You are a startup or corporate divestiture, +4. And if you prefer operating expense to cap expense, +2. If you have a total score approaching 10, then you should get on the cloud ASAP. Anybody over 7 certainly should be on the cloud, and the higher you are, the more benefit the cloud will produce for you. Well, that's our story, and I really want to thank you for your time and your attention. Feel free to call Petronella Computer Consultants at 919-422-2607 or at 919-813-7549. Have a great day, and thank you very much for your time and your attention.